Hey guys. Well, we've spent a while now, about a week and a couple of days, talking about cells. We know that animals like us and other animals like a dog or tiger, whatever, even ants, etc., other types of bugs, they are composed of many cells. We are multicellular organisms. Us, for example, as humans, we're composed of trillions. Now that all varies by age, size, etc. Um, Plants, they are also multicellular. They're composed of many cells, not as many as us, of course, but many. Some plants probably could even be more, like certain trees out there, like the sequoia or whatever, but I'm not sure about that. But anywho, when we also refer to us, we are multicellular organisms. We're composed of many cells. We're animal cells. Plant cells are all the same, except they're composed of plant cells, not animal cells, plant cells. So we've been focusing on those two different types of cells for a while now. Um, Another two words that we did mention last week, going into this week, were prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Our cells have those organelles inside them, and those things that help the cell function correctly, kind of like the workers in a restaurant help the restaurant function correctly. And just to let you know that we have nucleuses, we have like bosses in our cells that make our cells function correctly, and then ultimately makes our bodies function correctly. Um, we have nucleuses in our cells. They're like the brain of the cell, like the manager of the cell, and they lead the group. Um, we're known as eukaryotic cells as well as multicellular organisms. Plants are also eukaryotic, they have nucleuses. Organisms such as like amoeba, bacteria, they're only made of like one cell, so they're going to be more so prokaryotic, meaning it lacks a nucleus. So, what we're moving into today, that should all just be review. What we're moving into today is a topic of autotrophs and heterotrophs. We need to know what is what because starting maybe Friday or next week, the next 2 weeks, maybe before we go back to school, we don't know. But the next couple weeks, we're really going to be using all these vocab terms that we're learning, and we're going to play with the unit's vocab. But we're also going to move into taking those words and start classifying organisms into groups. So, because that's what scientists do. There are so many different types of tigers and everything else out there that we have to put them into groups. So let's watch this video. I'm going to kind of butt in here and there, so make sure you pay attention. It's going to go over the differences, and I'll kind of butt in. So here we go.
All living organisms need chemical energy, and depending on how they acquire it, they are divided into two groups. Plants are self-feeders. They make their own organic molecules from inorganic molecules. Heterotrophs are unable to make their own food and are dependent on the compounds produced by other organisms.
Okay, so that just mentioned there that we know plants make their own food. You guys have learned maybe last year or the year before that photosynthesis is the process where plants take sunlight and convert it into energy for themselves, kind of like how we eat food. But there's a difference there. Plants can take in the sunlight and create their own food. We cannot do that. So plants are known as autotrophs. We, along with bugs and other things, are known as heterotrophs. We cannot make our own food. So kind of make sure you're starting to understand those words.
Plants and algae are autotrophs, while most bacteria, all fungi and animals are heterotrophs.
So it mentioned algae is going to be able to make its own food. However, bacteria and whatnot, those are going to be heterotrophs because bacteria, if you think about it, like mold on bread or whatever, it grows on something else. The only reason it's surviving is because it's eating off of something else. So just kind of think that way. You'll get more practice with it. But yeah, you can also rewatch this if you need to. But just kind of think that way, that autotrophs make their own food. Heterotrophs do not.
Plants and algae are able to absorb solar energy and transform it into chemical energy. This process is called photosynthesis. Chemical energy acquired in this way is then used to produce carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are formed from simple inorganic substances: carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Oxygen, as a byproduct, is released into the atmosphere. Most heterotrophs, including humans, are completely dependent on autotrophs for food and oxygen.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so the only other thing I wanted to point out to you, again, as a recap, is my little skunk friend here. He is going to be a what? What word? Heterotroph or autotroph? Hopefully you're thinking heterotroph. He cannot make his own food. He goes and eats it somewhere else. My plant here, what would this be? Heterotroph or autotroph? Hopefully you're thinking autotroph because it can make its own food. So yeah, go back to my to-do now and check what's to do next.